Pope Francis has died at age 88, the Vatican announced on Easter Monday.
Russian strikes kill at least 3 people in Ukraine as both sides accuse the other of breaking the Easter ceasefire.
At least 12 people were reportedly killed and 30 others injured after US airstrikes hit multiple sites in Yemen.
China accuses Washington of abusing tariffs and vows retaliation against countries that strike trade deals with the US at its expense.
Fratelli e sorelle, buonasera.
Pope Francis has died at the age of 88, the Vatican announced on Easter Monday. Bells tolled in church towers across Rome after the announcement, which was read out by Cardinal Kevin Farrell, the Vatican Camerlengo, from the chapel of the Domus Santa Marta where Francis lived. The Pope had suffered from a respiratory crisis that developed into double pneumonia, for which he was hospitalized for 5 weeks. He emerged on Easter Sunday to bless thousands of people in St. Peter's Square and surprise them with a Pope-mobile ride through the piazza. The Argentine-born Jorge Mario Bergoglio was the first Latin American pontiff in history and charmed the world with his humble style and embrace of refugees and the poor. He signaled a very different tone for the papacy, stressing humility over hubris, adding women to decision-making roles in the church, and welcoming the LGBTQ+ community.
At least 3 people have been killed in Russian strikes on Ukraine during the so-called Easter ceasefire, with both sides accusing the other of breaking the 30-hour weekend truce. All casualties were reported in the southern Kherson region. 3 other people were injured. Overall, Russia violated the ceasefire nearly 3,000 times, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Monday, adding that the heaviest strikes were located in Ukraine's eastern region. Moscow also accused Kiev of violating the Easter truce announced by Putin on Saturday. According to the country's defense ministry, Ukraine launched hundreds of drone attacks and fired at Russian positions. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said on Monday that Russia, quote, remains open to searching for a peaceful settlement and is continuing to work with the American side.
At least 12 people were killed and 30 others injured after US airstrikes hit multiple sites in Yemen. According to the Houthi rebel group, the strikes reportedly hit the capital Sana'a, the Al-Jubail district in Marib, and Cameron Island in the Red Sea. The reported casualties mark the latest in Washington's intensified campaign against the Iran-backed group. The US says the strikes are in response to Houthi attacks on commercial ships in the Red Sea, one of the world's key trade routes, and on Israel. The latest wave of strikes began after the Houthis threatened to resume attacks on vessels linked to Israel, citing Israel's blockade of humanitarian aid into Gaza. Assessing the toll of the month-old US campaign has proven difficult. The Pentagon has released few details, offering little information about targets or casualties.
Beijing has warned of retaliatory measures against countries that reach trade agreements with the United States at the expense of China's interests. The warning came in the latest statement by China's Ministry of Commerce, which said Beijing respects all parties' efforts to resolve their trade disputes with the U.S. through equal consultation. The statement, however, added that China will not accept U.S.-led trade deals that harm its interests and will respond resolutely and reciprocally with countermeasures. Last week, the Trump administration reportedly planned to pressure U.S. trading partners to limit deals with China in the ongoing tariff negotiations. Countries with close trade ties to China may face so-called secondary tariffs. China has described the U.S.'s 145% tariffs on its goods as unilateral bullying. Meanwhile, the World Trade Organization warns that the trade war between the world's 2 largest economies could shrink the global economy by 7%.